Okay, so this is a slightly different one because we had a Chatty Sparkly run a special about different training paces where I went through the training paces.
So this is the technical
This
version,
is the technical one.
Why are we doing a
Well, because I think it's just nice for some people just to know what is happening to their bodies. I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to know. It's like a computer, isn't it? You don't have to know the workings of a computer in order to use it.
No. Yeah.
But actually, it's so interesting, it's worthwhile doing.
So we went through all the training paces in the last video, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. So
and I'll do the same, but I'll go more technical. Okay, so here we go then. So your body has three ways of generating energy. It has aerobic, using oxygen with fuel. It has alactic, which is the stored energy in your muscles, the 10-second sparkly bits. And then it has an anaerobic mechanism, which is really your body's emergency system, which is a linking system and an emergency system as well.
A linking
link,
system?
yeah, I'll come back to that in a minute.
You're going to explain that?
Okay, so when you let's talk about going for a chatty run. So you're going for a chatty run and you don't walk to start with, you set off. You're not warming up, you just set off. What will happen is the first 10 seconds you use that alactic energy.
Okay, so like your start-up energy.
Absolutely, and it's there you get going. You don't even have to breathe for the first 10 seconds. But your aerobic oxygen system is quite a long, involved system.
And the start-up of that system?
Yeah,
it takes a
while to get going. And so what happens is it doesn't kick in, it takes a bit of time to kick in. So instead of you having to stop, because you might be being chased by a lion, the anaerobic system comes in and it links the alactic to the aerobic, and so what happens is that will kick in and that will work through, and you might find the first couple of minutes you might get a little bit breathy, and that's the anaerobic bit.
But you might not.
It's the linking bit. Now if you go walking you probably won't do it.
If you do a really good warm-up, gradual warm-up,
you won't do that. You shouldn't really have to go through that.
You don't have to go, because I've
No.
cracked that.
Yeah, you have a 3-minute walk and a 5-minute chatty and you don't get that. But what I'm saying is it is a linking energy. And then after a minute and a half, then if you're going nice and gentle, your aerobic oxygen using system comes in, and that's, you can go on, just if you're trained, you can go on forever using that. So let's go through the paces then. So the chatty pace is all aerobic. You're not hardly using any anaerobic at all. It's just a tiny little bit, because all three happen all the time. But let's just say in that bit,
you don't even notice it.
No, it is aerobically. You're not even breathing probably any harder than here. Your pulse is going to be about 60% of its maximum. There's something, because this is a technical one, doing the Carvonen formula that you can look up.
Oh gosh, now we're getting technical.
And then you can look at 60% of that is probably a more accurate way of doing it. I don't want to go into that because we're feeling based. I don't want to go into heart rates. But if you want to ask me a question about heart rate, put it in the comments below. And so then that's fine. As you go a little bit faster, you go a little bit faster than chatty, you go through what's called a ventilatory threshold, where you're just beginning to produce a little bit more lactate, and that makes you breathe just a little bit more.
That's always interested me. The fact that it's actually the lactate that makes you breathe.
Well, it's not. It's the hydrogen ions that comes with the lactate that does it.
It's not that you just need to get more oxygen in.
No, but it's just that emergency system just getting off the ground. But it's not going to harm you. It's not going to make you tired or anything. You can carry on at that speed, but not as long as the chatty speed.
Yeah, so that's your breathy speed.
That's your breathy speed. Then we come to something that's really interesting and what is really amazing about your body, which is the 1 hour competition pace.
The part sentence
The part sentence
I don't
pace.
like 1 hour competition pace.
Okay. The part sentence pace, where you can talk in part sentences. Now, that anaerobic system is beginning to contribute quite a bit more to your overall energy. But the amount of oxygen you use still hasn't got to a maximum, but your body's deciding, I'm going to blend my energies together at that part sentence pace.
So you're going a bit fast here. We need another source of energy.
Well, we're just going to begin to tap into that energy, and that produces a little bit of acidity. The lactate, I'm going to get even more technical, is 4 millimoles per litre about for the average person. And when that happens, if you run at that pace, your body uses the lactate as a fuel. So, and it gets rid of that small number of hydrogen ions, so you can maintain that for about an hour. And that's amazing, because it means that your body's got its own turbo. It's using
yeah,
the
okay.
it's
Sounds
using
clever.
it's using the byproduct as a fuel. So that's that 1 hour competition pace. But is
Part sentence pace.
part sentence pace? But I said, is it last time I said, is it
Yeah,
worth
you said
using?
it's not really worth going there. I mean, it sounds great that you're reusing that fuel.
Yeah,
It
but
sounds like something that you ought to
try to do.
Train,
But
and I think that's where the tempo runs come from,
but
isn't
it's
it?
it is, but it's a
Yeah.
very limited adaptation. But you see, the chatty running and a little bit of breathy running in the week will make your heart bigger and make all the blood capillaries go into your muscles more, and we'll get more mitochondria. And all that will raise the speed that you can run
Okay.
part sentence pace. So actually, to improve the speed of your part sentence pace, to make you be able to go faster at part sentence pace,
don't need
you
to
need to
train
do
at
all
it.
the chatty running.
Yeah.
You don't really
You don't actually
need
to train at part sentence pace.
But if you wanted to, you can train it by going at your 5k pace, because once you go above part sentence pace, then that lactate really begins to climb. And then, so if you're doing your park run, 3/4 of the way around the park run, your lactate is really climbing, and your anaerobic energy is really kicking in.
Right, so that's why you avoid part sentence pace and go either side.
Yeah, go
because
either side.
actually you get more benefit from doing
I
that.
think so. And
Because
so
the danger is if you go for part sentence pace, you
go
probably
too
go
quick.
too quickly.
And so instead of doing repetitions and having a
Yeah.
rest, you do it too much.
Yeah,
So
doing, yeah.
So
I
then
understand.
so we then have a 5k pace where the amount of lactate and the acidity in the body's getting up, you can't shift it, so it's going to build up and build up and build up, and that's where you are. But actually, you still haven't maxed out the amount of oxygen you can use. That comes in at your 10-minute competition pace.
Oh my goodness.
So at your 10-minute competition pace, your lactate and acidity is building up because you're
That's
using
as
this.
fast as you can go for 10 minutes, is
Yeah,
it?
because your acidity is building up because you're using a significant amount of anaerobic energy. You're blending more of that in, and you're using the absolute maximum amount of oxygen you can. Your VO2 max comes at about 10-minute pace, and anything
So
above that.
Do you see training sessions at that pace? VO2 max pace, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
from
all
what
the
I
time.
see.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, because it's a really good, it's a really beneficial pace to do. But you would have a repetition and then a rest and a repetition, and you would only do it when you've built your base up so that you've got a really strong aerobic engine, and that doesn't
So
kick in till late.
So if you're new to our videos, you need to go back to that special sequence we did on building the base,
Yeah.
the hills,
And
and the anaerobic.
Yeah, and
the icing on the cake.
the icing on the
Let's
cake
come
is
back to
those
the icing on
faster
the cake.
runs, yeah. And that really works if you do that. But you've got to develop all the chatty running first. You
So
know,
it's not for the inexperienced, is it?
No.
It's just
And-
not worth going
and the
there, is it?
anaerobic-
Because you're getting all the adaptions from the chatty
Yeah.
and a bit of breath.
and the
your
anaerobic,
sparkles.
the anaerobic
lactic.
system is the body's emergency system, and it's very inefficient. It's very quickly trained to that bit of the way you generate energy. So it's trained in 4 or 5 weeks. You can get it up to its maximum, and it's very inefficient. So the aerobic energy is about 16 times more efficient. In other words,
16?
you
As
get
much as that?
16 times
Wow.
more energy for the same food that you put in.
Right.
So it's certainly worth
Yeah.
doing that. It's worth staying chatty.
Definitely. I think you've convinced me.
If there are any questions to this, because I'm thinking we might raise
Yeah,
any
you've gone
question.
quite technical.
Yeah,
there.
about pulse.
I'm just a little bit worried about writing the blog for the website now.
Perhaps
I
just
think
for
you'll have
once,
to do it.
I'll just write the blog. So it is amazing how your body works, how those 3 energy systems blend together, and how when you run fast, it starts to key in the anaerobic one relatively early, just to prepare you in case you decide to go faster, and how that works. And ultimately, it's the anaerobic acidity that will slow you down, because that will make your legs heavy. It stimulates your heavy breathing, and if you didn't have that, then you'd carry on and you'd probably
And you train that to get used to the acidity, don't you?
yeah, to get used to that feeling.
Get used to the body.
Yeah.
Used to it.
And another point is, the last point about this is, when you're training heavily anaerobically, it's a big stress on the body, and it produces stress hormones which cause inflammation.
Yeah.
And that's
what I say to my beginners.
much more likely to get injured if you're training anaerobically. So if you're running just a little bit too fast and you're in that part sentence pace all the time, you're really at a big injury risk. But if you're chatty and you don't have that acidity in your body, you really have to, you can do a lot more running.
As you keep saying, you want less stress in your life. Running should be stress-free.
And your body likes being treated gently. That's why I'm sitting down here to do this.
Yeah, we've treated our bodies gently in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Sitting by the river.
So that's enough.
On the technical
On the
episode.
technical, we go less technical next week. Thank goodness
Phew.
for that. We have to sit down because I can't move and think about the technical stuff
not
at the same
surprised.
time. Okay, good. Thank you, everybody.
See you next week.
See you next week.